Hey guys, welcome to the session 17, I think it is. What is big data? And hopefully everyone's come out of their comatose from lunch. And I'm going to make this a lot more fun. You know, I know you've been through a lot of sessions already, and you've done, and you've heard, and you spoke, and you've listened. But this one's going to be a fun one, I promise you. The first part of this is you're going to need your smartphones. Now, I will tell you right up front, I'm not collecting any data from you guys. So you will be using your smartphones. It is very, very interactive, right? And you're going to see the interactions you guys do show up on my PowerPoint, real time. That's key. So if you have your smartphones, make sure you're ready, and I'm going to go through that and explain that. But before we do that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jay Patel. I am with Presidio. I am the practice manager, practice director for big data for Presidio West. So that's basically, I manage all their big data practices from Texas west. Yes, I do have an accent, if you're wondering now. I am born and raised in England, but I have lived in Sonoma County for 20 years. So I'm as Californian as I can get without my accent. But people love my accent, so I'm going to keep it for as long as I can. All right, guys, so let's get started. Well, maybe I should turn this on. Here we go. All right, objectives. What are my objectives today? So from a time perspective, guys, I do have to stop at 2:45 sharp because there is somebody else coming in, so I do have an hour. There is a lot of material to go to. I do not talk to the PowerPoints. I want to make sure this is interactive, and again, this is why the smartphone usage. I find that to be the best way for you guys to be able to communicate very rapidly and for those results to show up on so that we can communicate and progress as we go through. So some of the objectives is what is it? What is big data, right? That's why we're here. This is what the whole conference is about. Part of my goal today is cover some of those myths about big data, right? What it is, what it isn't, what it could be, what it should be, and give you an idea of what it means. I'll be clear. Big data is not a widget that's going to fix everything. It's not. Most people say it's a strategy. Maybe. I'm going to talk about that. Why do I want it? I think we all have an idea why we want it, but we don't know how to do what we don't know, right? That's the thing about big data. We don't know what we don't know. And how does it work? If we get time, and again, depending on timing, and again, like I said, I have a very short window, 1 hour window. Depending on time, I'm going to go through a case study, a real-life case study that I've actually working on. Unfortunately, just so that I let you guys know, I cannot tell you the client name because I'm still working for them and doing it, but they have given me the right to talk about it and use that case study on how it's helped their industry, and hopefully you can see how that's going to help what you guys do on a daily basis. I'm going to give you enough tools here today to understand how, when you go back to your business, how you should be thinking differently about data. Right? That's what this is about today. How you think about differently and what you should do. And then, like I said right at the beginning, I want to keep this collaborative, and you're going to see that, a lot of it. We're going to have a lot of fun, I promise you. If anything, from the people that have seen me speak in the past, I love interaction. I'm very, very animated. I walk around a lot. I talk a lot. I talk fast, and if I do talk fast, I've got 3 lovely ladies here I know are going to keep me in my place, right? So tell me to slow down, because I love this stuff. I really do. I love and breathe it. I've been in this industry, in the data industry, for almost 25 years. And yes, I don't look old enough, but I promise you, I'm way over the hill. All right, so the first question I'm going to ask everyone, and you have to raise your hands, who does not have a heartbeat? That's good, because I will have to call a medic. If you do have a heartbeat and you have a smartphone, pull them out now. I need you to go to your browsers, log on to that site. Promise you, I am not collecting any information. I do not collect IP addresses. I do not collect email addresses. I do not collect the statistics that you put into your phones. I will not be collecting that. This is pure interactive. polev.com/jpresidio. Don't worry, it's going to come up a few times. And here's the very first poll you should see on your phones. Immediately, it should be there. Go ahead and select your options. As you see, you will see your options come up. Isn't that cool? Go ahead. We got seats up here. Promise you I don't bite. It's because of the sizing. So I can see only 12 people, and I can guarantee you there's more than 12 people in this room. See? This is another way for me to keep a track of who's not paying attention. 14. Ooh, like it. Either some of you are still struggling to log on or still haven't found the question. What are you up to? 16. Ooh, we got a lot of technical people. That's cool. You guys are going to like this. I like the technical audience. I'm very technical. Ooh, we got some management. So be careful we don't say anything because HR might get involved. Let's be careful. Oh, we got 3 Presidio people. Oh, hi, Presidio people. Oh, we got 1 CIO. Where is he? Yeah. 17 people. I know we got more than 17 people. Let's get to 20. Let's get to 25. We got at least 25 people here. See if we can get to 25, and then I'll move on to the next slide. That gives me a lot of technical people. I like that. Told you you'll have fun with this, haven't you? And just trust me, this is only one of many, many things we're going to be doing today. So I will test afterwards. 22, almost there. Come on, a couple more people. We can get there. All right, while you do that, I'm getting a little warm in here. $22, come on, 3 more people. And if you don't remember the address, right it is, right at the top there. Right there. Everyone's like tapping away very quickly. Yes, you can do it. One more. Look at that.
Mr. Patel?
Yes, sir.
My phone died on me.
Yeah, I'm sure it did, John. 26, love it. All right, love it, love it. Great, great. I'm sorry? Well, it'll only allow you 1 entry, unless you got multiple browsers. Yeah. So, this is good, right? We've got a good audience here. This gives you an idea of the audience I'm talking to, right? The reason for this is so that I know how to tailor the needs to, we've got 2 CIOs, we've got 4 mid-management, 13 technical people. So this really helps me understand what my audience is like. And basically, I can now adjust accordingly to fit the people I'm talking to. So this is why I use this tool a lot when I'm presenting. I can guarantee you nobody's seen this today. All right. What is big data? So here's my explanation of what big data is. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Did I skip a slide? No, didn't. Actually, before we do that, before I explain, what I want to do is we've got another poll. Hopefully, your slides should automatically advance on your phones, right? So your phones will automatically advance to the next slide, so they should automatically come up. What I want to do is, guys, tell me how you define big data today, and then I'll explain to you what my explanation of big data is. How do you, again, it should be on your phone, the same question. How do you define? Some people say data warehousing, business intelligence. Actually, I'm going to come over here a little bit so I can see. Business intelligence, data warehousing. Nobody's saying something to do with Hadoop. That's interesting. Oh, 1. 3 Vs, a lot of 3 Vs. So it sounds like a lot of people know what the 3 Vs mean. I will be going through that as well a little bit. Data mining. Who thinks it's data mining? Raise your hand. Who selected data mining? Come on, I know 4 people, 3 people did. Look at this. I got more people interacting here than I did on the first question. This is good. 3 Vs. Okay, so someone who said 3 Vs, put your hand up. So the guys that said 3 Vs. Okay, what are 3 Vs? Excellent. Volume, velocity. There is actually a 4th. Volume. Veracity. Veracity meaning meaningfulness. What does the data mean to me? What does it do? So you've got volume, variety, velocity, and veracity. So how fast, how much, how different, and how meaningful, basically. Good. This is good. So it's good to see that. But guess what, guys? You're all wrong. It's none of those, because it is all of them. Big data really is everything, right? It's because it is volume, it is velocity, it is Hadoop, it is data mining, it is business intelligence, it is all of them. It really is. Unfortunately, that was a trick question because you don't have about all of them on your phones. But I wanted to see how you guys think, right? You couldn't, it won't let you. It wouldn't let you. I know. But that's key to understand, right? People typically identify big data with a specific task or a specific product or a specific objective that they want to reach. And when you typically say data mining, which I saw a lot of people talk about, unfortunately, data mining is very geared towards data warehousing, typically structured data, right? Databases or structured data coming from an ERP system or a CRM system or Salesforce, something that's structured that you data mine out of structured environment. Big data is not that. Big data is that plus all the unstructured data that's out there. And I'm sure you've heard that multiple times today, right? Structured, unstructured. I'm not going to go into all that details. But you've got to remember, big data is not one specific task or problem. It is everything. It's the world it is today. And we're going to go through some of those examples in a minute, but you'll see that. All right, so this is how I define big data. Big data is a popular term, unfortunately, just like cloud was, just like everything else. And it is a term used to describe the exponential growth and availability of data, right? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is my definition of big data. The key here is that people are going to realize that big data is not going away. It's not going away. The term may change, right? Again, I've been in the data business for, like I said, almost 25 years. Back then, we called it data marts, data warehousing, right? Just Oracle was big data back then, right? When SQL 1.8, when it was SQL was owned by Sybase before Microsoft bought it, is when I got into the business. So you got to remember, it's just the sheer fact and the sheer volume of data. But the key is data is changing every day. The name may change, but the concept will stay. What's changed recently is, again, part of the 3 V's. One of the V's is variety. Variety simply means the different types of data, right? We talk about unstructured files, Excel file, Word documents, PowerPoints, pictures, videos. Do you know that you can search videos for keywords now? Does everybody know that? You can actually put a YouTube video up and search within that YouTube for a specific keyword. That's available today. How do you think the NSA track you? Really? No joke, right? That's real. It's real. Palantir keyed that product, and they can search keywords inside video and audio. Recorded. Not during the conversation, even after a conversation. It's real. So you can pinpoint a specific word in a video, and it will take you straight to that video. That's available today. But guess what? That's not structured. That's unstructured. That's part of the big data conversation. So again, the best way I define it is how this is important to business as the internet was important to society in general. People need to make more intelligent analysis. Actually, I say it right there. I think the best I say it right there. More data leads to more accurate analysis. More accurate analysis may lead, right here, leads to more confident decision making. Better decision making leads to better operational differences and reduces costs and reduces risk. That's what it's about. Okay. Now we're getting into some fun facts. Information processed in 2013, 3.6 zettabytes. What's a zettabyte? Yes, it's a lot of information, right? This is Gartner, by the way. Gartner is proposing by 2012 that same amount will grow to 57.5 zettabytes of information processed. That's doubling every 2 years. That's vast amounts of information that we need to process. And I'm going to show you some new statistics in here. Again, I want to make sure that you understand what this is about and understand the sheer weight of what big data means. All right. Question. Who started a big data strategy today? Or who has started a big strategy? Because I'm going to confuse you. Experimental. I doubt that. Okay, I know there's more than 2 people. Okay, I believe the guy that said unaware. So now everyone's going to go ahead and select unaware, aren't you? Opportunistic. Unaware. Okay, unaware, I like that. And strategic. So people think that big data is strategic. I promise you, I'm going to change your minds in a minute. Big data is not strategic. Well, depending on your life cycle, on your cycle, but I doubt you're at the strategic phase. Good. Unaware, 28, 29. Wow, see, a lot more. See, I think people are liking this. We've lost 2 people. 31. Look at that, see? I knew people would like this. 15 people are unaware. I agree with the 15 so far. People are unaware of what to do with the big data strategy so far. I want to talk to the 3 people that say it's transformative, because you're about to see my next slide where I describe transformative. Okay, so I'm going to stick it to that. So I'm going to check the people that say strategic, transformative, experimental, maybe, maybe small data sets. But again, remember, big data is not about your small data set. It's about everything you know, right? Again, one of the case studies, again, I can't tell you the company's name, where I will talk about, they didn't know what they didn't know until I showed them what they didn't know. I can guarantee you the people that are saying strategic and transformative, you still don't know what you don't know until you see the data you don't know, right? That's the key about big data. You can't, if you don't know your data, how do you know what to look for? It's just impossible. This is how I define where you should be in your life cycle. So you can see where I say unaware. This is where people are still discovering, still don't know what it is, or still trying to figure out what a big data strategy is. Again, this is a chart by Gartner. It's not a chart I created. But if you notice, this chart clearly defines where your big data strategy should be and what big data should mean to you. Most people, believe it or not, are right here, between unaware and aware. I would say 95%, and I'll tell you this for a fact, I am talking to very, very large Fortune 100 companies today, and most of them are here, right here, between aware and unaware. So again, this is why when people say they're between strategic and transformative, this tells me not only do you have a strategy, you've already implemented. That means you know what your HR data looks like. You know what your CRM data looks like. You know what your sales data looks like. Oh, you also know what your government data looks like. You know what all the agencies that are connected to you, what their data looks like. I doubt it. I truly doubt it. And again, I'm not saying that's not where you're going and that's not your focus. But again, big data is about informative, accurate analysis on information that you need to understand that gets you to help you make better business decisions and therefore reduce operational costs, reduce risk. So I can guarantee you people looking at this chart have changed their minds about where their strategy is. Maybe a few of you are between aware and experimental, maybe trying out on a few smaller data sets, maybe. What I can tell you is where I started my industry was 20 years ago when I came into the US. A very small company back then called 1-800-DENTIST hired me to look at their data strategy. They were based out of Petaluma, where I joined them. And that's the first question they asked me. They go, we want to be able to find customers to help them with their problem, with their teeth. Right? That's what 1-800-DENTIST does. Now, believe it or not, guys, 1-800-DENTIST is a pure marketing machine. That's all they do is marketing. They make their money not from you guys, because you guys dial a toll-free number. They make their money from the dentists. Every time we refer a call, cha-ching. It is. And how do they get that cash flow? A zip code. What I did was I looked at the Census Bureau data. Back in 1990, when the data first came out, or that set of data that came in 1990, you believe it or not, you can download all that data for free. You know how much useful information is in the Census Bureau? I put all that into a big SQL database. You farm it, you mine it. I could tell you exactly the median household income and the child, how old they were, and what kind of teeth they had in that zip code from that census data. Based upon that data, I would then overlay that on the value of homes that were in that zip code, and immediately I could tell you what I should be charging that dentist. Because I know your average income. So therefore, I can charge you more. That's how 1-800-DENTIST works. Guess how I did that? Smart data, big data. Obviously, it wasn't called big data back then, but it's the same principle. It's not just using the data you have, it's collecting the data around you and understanding your environment so that you can make better business decisions. That's what I did. That's what I was doing 20 years ago. So just imagine what you can do today. All right. Why? So we've answered the first question, what it is. Here's my first question. Every hour, except for you two on the end, which you know the answer to this question, what do you guys think happens every hour of every day, of every week, of every month? I know it's not a trick question, I promise you. Enough information is processed, enough internet information is processed every hour to fill 7 million DVDs. This is true. Side by side, they scale Mount Everest 95 times. 1 hour. So in the time I finish this seminar, we filled 7 million DVDs. That is phenomenal amounts of data. Right. 1.5 times. So I've talked about a lot of growth about data. I'm going to give you a clue here. If we're growing our data at this phenomenal rate, our people, the people like you guys, technical people, which is the vast audience here, is not growing at that rate. I can guarantee that. Our people are only growing at the same rate data is growing. Our people are only growing at 1.5 times. Much slower rate. Obviously much slower rate. Right? So we are increasing our data growth at these phenomenal rates. The reason I bring this slide up, or the reason I bring up this statistic, it's important to understand that we need better tools to be able to manage this vast amount of information. Better infrastructure, smarter infrastructure, smarter software. Remember, the infrastructure, let me take that back. Your infrastructure is not really smart. It's the software that runs on that infrastructure that's smart. You need better, faster infrastructure, i.e. software. You need more intelligent software to be able to determine what that can do. 247 billion. And yes, that is my bank account. Yeah, listen, trust me, if that was really my bank account, I would not be here. I can promise you that. I'd be owning some island off the Bahamas somewhere, I can guarantee that. Email messages sent every day. 247 billion emails every day. Look at that second piece of that statistic. 80% of it is spam. Right? Imagine if we could use data smarter to avoid 80% of that data. Your internet traffic that you use every day in your agencies, your internet traffic would go up. You'd be able to use your pipe better if it wasn't for junk like this. Big data can help with that. And again, if I get a chance, again, I know we're going to be running out of time. If I get a chance and I go over the case study, I'll show you how I help them reduce some of this stuff. 30 billion, which is hoping what all your bank balances look like by now. 30 billion. This is the most shocking statistic. it's pieces of content shared on Facebook every day. Just imagine the Facebook content, the amount of Facebook content out there. That's just every day is what's shared. So imagine how much more you generate. It's phenomenal. I know I'm shocking you here, guys, but this is nothing new. What I'm trying to get to you guys is, why do we need big data? Just look at the amount of information out there. Remember, people are using social media data as a strategy to determine people's buying patterns, people's patterns on their living patterns, what they do on it every day, so that marketing companies can then determine how to best sell you a product, how to best push a product, more customizable to what you want, what you need. This is why they look at statistics like this. My last one, and my favorite piece of statistic, 725% surge. I can guarantee you every one of you participated in this surge. Well, I'm going to guarantee at least 95% of you did. Number of text messages sent on New Year's Eve, 2014 compared to 2010. 2010, 14 terabyte worth of text messages were sent, compared to 2014, 100 terabytes on New Year's Eve of text messages. Yeah, everyone's shaking. Yeah, I did. I was part of that. I was part of that. Yeah, I sent to my 20 best friends, like, hey, Happy New Year, woo! Right? But that's a real statistic. Shocking, but true. All right, another one. This is where you get to type your answers to me. What is your biggest pain point? On putting a plan together. Why? So basically, why are you resisting in putting a big data plan together? No responses yet. I've had some good ones in the past when I've asked this question. That's how creative we get today. Data quality, that's a good one. Data quality is an issue because data integrity, and we're going to talk a little bit about data integrity. I have a chart later. Resources, that's another great one. I have, again, the same chart talks about both data quality, data integrity, and resources. Executive sponsorship. That's a good one because I've talked to a lot of large companies, a lot of executives. Basically, their bottom line is they don't want to spend a lot of money on infrastructure. Security is a misnomer, but we'll talk about that a little bit. That's a good one. Lack of infrastructure. That's typical. Fear of data. Who wrote Fear of Data? What do you mean by that?
From a business perspective, exposing either good data or bad data.
So basically, not knowing your data. That's part of the key, right? Not knowing your data can scare you. That's
and/or maybe knowing your data and exposing either issues in your actual business, your process, or otherwise.
Yes, that's good. That's good. That's actually a very good one. A lot of people are very scared of finding out what they don't understand. Priority is relative to resources. Again, I think that's a resource restriction. Financial, again, lack of infrastructure. Don't you love this tool? I promise you, I do not save any of this data. None of this data is saved. Yeah, okay, that's got to be one of you comedians back there. That's right, I told you, we get some good ones. we get creative. Dirty data. That dirty data, so again, when you talk about dirty data, the biggest key about clean data is creating a good master data management program or an MDM program. If you do not have a good, strong MDM program, your data will never be consistently good. So that question is $1 million question. You can't start a good data program if you don't understand an MDM program, right? Shaking your hands. It looks like something going on over there. That's good. Financial. Okay, so there's some really good ones. Actually, we're going to cover some of these. We're going to talk about But that's good. Good. All right. So there was a CIO summit that I attended 2-3 months ago, I think it was. And we asked most of the CIOs, this actually was out of Washington. And by the way, let me be absolutely clear here. This CIO summit was not sponsored by us, was not sponsored by any vendor. This is where CIOs actually wanted to get together to talk about strategies, not just about big data, but projects and initiatives in general. So this statistic's about projects in general. But what this statistic will show you is that all CIOs have one thing in mind. And a few of the questions that you put up there, that's the same thing that's on mind, right? So again, the reason I want to be clear, this CIO summit was not sponsored by us. So it is not, we don't sway the answer here. This came out of a summit that I was invited to. So how many of you think that CIOs are worried about CapEx reduction and efficiency? Show of hands, quick. None, good, because that's not what they're worried about. Who thinks it's an OpEx efficiency? Few of you think it's an OpEx efficiency. Well, that's wrong as well. Believe it or not, it's this one, rapid provisioning and deployment of projects and services, applications. That's number one on CIO mind. How do I deliver new projects, i.e. projects like big data? Again, big data is not a widget. Like I said up front, it is a strategy, it is a plan. But that is the number one question all CIOs have in mind. How do I deploy a new service or an application? Believe it or not, it's true for the state as well. Right? Okay, so we talked about volume, velocity, and variety. Here's how you define this. So just to be clear, volume, velocity, and variety was a term coined by Gartner back in 2008, I believe. The first part is from them, the second part is mine. But basically, like I said to you earlier, guys, volume, velocity, and variety. Volume, how fast information is moving. Variety, the different types of information that's out there. And volume, how big, how fast, how different. And veracity, which is the fourth one, how meaningful, which is not part of the Gartner statement. But I think it's important to understand that we've got all this data. Like you said, if we don't understand it, what are we going to do with it? Right? So meaningful is also very important. But it's helping customers develop an insight into that information. That's the key to this. Back to your point, how do we do that, right? Again, that's part of a plan. You have to put a plan together to understand that. Okay, how does it work? So we've answered two of the questions so far. And I know I'm going through this pretty fast, but hopefully we'll have some question times. How does it work? So here's a good question. The future will be data-driven, but who's driving the data? And I'm going to give you an example. Who do you think is driving the data? Throw me some answers. Anybody? Consumers. Perfect. We are. We're driving data, right? Smarter phones. So let me give you an example. How many of you guys have iPhones? Probably most of you, right? Out of the guys who have iPhones, how many of you guys use Siri? Probably some of you tried it. She doesn't understand me. I don't like her. We just don't connect. I get that. I'm an Android fan, so I don't have, so Siri and I have never got along. But you guys have used Siri, right? How do you think Siri works? How do you think she is that fast? She's fast, right? She's driven by data. She has to be, right? So the example I'm going to give you is around Siri. You have a smartphone? Android? Apple phone? Let's assume you do. Let's assume you call Siri and say, hey, Siri, I'm looking for a restaurant, Italian restaurant near me. What is she going to do? First, she has to go look up, well, where the hell are you? Right? Okay, I've got to go into your phone, look up the GPS coordinates. Okay, I live in Santa Rosa. Okay, you live in Santa Rosa. Okay, so now I've got to go search Google or Yelp, and I don't know how many other websites are out there for restaurants. So she goes out and searches all these restaurants. She finds the restaurants, and oh my God, wait, now I have to filter that down to Italian restaurants. And remember, she learns with you, right? So the more you use her, the more she learns. She has to store that information somewhere. So as she learns more, she now knows that you don't like pasta, you love pizza. So she's going to eliminate all the pasta restaurants and now put up all the pizza restaurants. And she knows that you don't like tomatoes and you only like to have, good fresh vegetables. So she's going to eliminate all those. But she does it in a nanosecond. How do you think she does that? Who do you think is driving that data? Who do you think is putting information into the system to help Siri to make those decisions? We are. Every day, every time you use it, she's collecting more and more information. So is the NSA spying? I don't know that answer, but what I do know, Siri knows a lot about us. Siri really does know us. This is why I don't like her. See, I told you it would be fun. But that's the key, right? How does it work? Well, I just gave you a great example. The data is collected on us every day. Who's heard of wearable technology? Somebody explain to me what wearable technology, Mr. Cisco guy, tell me what wearable technology is. Perfect. Fitbit. That's one example. Give me another example. Google Glass. That's exactly the one I was thinking of. Google Glass is another one. What about another one? One more. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to hit that. I'm thinking of heart rate monitors. That's wearable technology, right? When you're running, you have a heart rate monitor your heart, right? That data has to be stored somewhere. Typically on your cell phones, right? Now, most of that data doesn't have to go out on the internet. You can protect yourselves from that. You can say, no, I don't want to share that, and it will store it in your data on your phone. But guess what? Your phone knows. Your phone's smart. It knows. Does it not, when you have your heart rate monitor on, or if you're using Google Glass, know what you like? Again, I'm a big Android user. I love Android Now. Android Now knows what I like to do, and it always makes suggestions for me. That information is out in Google, but it knows what I like. Wearable technology is a big phenomenon that's going to help drive more data. More and more apps that you download on your smartphones. And believe me, mobile devices have had more to drive with big data than any other application or phenomenon out there. Because we're everywhere. As you know, a lot of you guys heard, Apple just signed, I don't know how many billion-dollar contract with China. How much more information do you think Siri's going to get now? Yeah, she's growing. So, who's driving big data? We are. How do you think our future looks? It's going to make every decision for us. Now, I talked about wearable technology just now. You're going to laugh, but this is real true. This is absolute true. I'm actually doing a study right now on something that is called, and it's a real term, so don't laugh all at once, little data. It's real. Little data is real. It is called personal quantification data. Data like your heart rate monitor on your cell phone that stores that. Personal information the data knows about you. So that and that eventually, guys, promise you, not today, eventually it will go out to the public cloud or some sort of system that will be collected. And people like Starbucks, when you walk into Starbucks with little data, it will know that the barista behind the machine, she knows you. She loves you. She knows that on the menu, you like an extra shot that you don't typically get in your normal menu. But she knows you likes you, and she likes you. That data is not collected anywhere. That's not collected by Starbucks system. Starbucks, all it knows, by swiping your card, that you like your cafe mocha, but doesn't know that it likes an extra shot. The barista knows that. That's personal quantifiable data. More and more data like that's going to be collected. And how? Things like Google Glasses. She'll be wearing a Google Glass and recognizes you walking through the door and immediately knows that that piece of information is going to start collecting and know what you like and what you don't like. So who's driving data? We are. We are truly driving data. We're truly driving what that looks like and what it's going to be doing for us in the future. Yes, I know I've scared you a little bit, but trust me, it's going to be good. I love this business. All right, let's get into some, again, we talked about some things to think about when thinking about big data. So I said I'll give you some key things to think about when you walk away today. Here are the 7 major things you should think about when thinking about big data. Obviously, architecture's up there, right? That's important. Now, we're going to be talking about 3 types of architecture, right? Business, information, and technology architecture, analytics. Obviously, it's great to have all this data, but if you don't know how to read it, it's no good. Somebody put up security. Security and privacy is very, very important. I just wrote a white paper on big data in healthcare. And the key there was security and privacy, especially around HIPAA requirements, right? Because big data has no HIPAA requirements today. We have to put it around there, but there is no HIPAA-compliant big data strategy, per se, right? Tools and platform, obviously infrastructure, right? We need to understand what our infrastructure looks like. Accessibility and interoperability. When I say accessibility, we're talking about our smartphones, right? We want the data when we want it. I don't want to wait till I get back to the office or VDI into my tiny little phone to get the data. Really? Okay, VDI is a great strategy. How many people VDI off their phones? Nobody does that. Right? It's great. VDI has its place, I promise you, but nobody really does that. But people want apps. I can guarantee you we're going to live in an app-driven world. More and more people are going to get away from Word and Excel and PowerPoint. Not tomorrow. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to grow. As smartphones get smarter and technology gets better, we will live in an app-driven world where you can just go to Google Play or the Apple Store. It's Apple Store, right? Yeah, it is Apple Store. I'm not an Apple fan. No, I'm not an Apple fan. I'm not an Apple user, should I say. It's an Apple Store. So, and then the Microsoft Store, right? Where you can download the latest app to do whatever your corporate needs are, to get the data you need. That's going to be very, very key. So 5, accessibility is going to be huge. Oops, sorry. Infrastructure we talked about, and integrity. That's what you were talking about earlier, right? Data integrity is critical. Again, part of any big data plan, number 1 rule, understand what you've got. And I just don't mean in your silo how that data around you impacts you. Because if you understand what you have, I can guarantee you'll make a lot better business decisions. So how do I break those areas down into? 3 major areas, right? I talked about business, architecture-wise. I talked about 3 architectures: business, information, and technology. So in the business architecture, what do they do? Who does it? Which information? Where do they get it? And where is it done? This is important from a business perspective because you want to make sure security, the right people are getting right access to the right data, and when are they getting it? What do they do, right? What does the information getting to you allow you to do? So if it's HR plus finances plus some SKUs, what does that information mean to you? What is it allowed to do? Which information, meaning out of all this information you collected, what components of that information do you need to get to what you want to do? And the last, where? Mobile, desktop, browser. How do you want to get to? What do you want to do with it? Where is that information? Not only where does it live, but where does it go to? From the information, again, this is my simple way of breaking down key components of a big data strategy. This one is the biggest one, system management. Again, you can't understand your data if you can't manage your data. If you don't know where your data lives, you don't know what it does, and you can't manage it, you're never going to get to the data you want. Make sense? Have I confused everybody yet? You can say yes. No? She's saying, no, I'm good. All right. Here's my predictions. And then I'll get to the case study. Here's my predictions. More Hadoop projects will fail than succeed. True. Why? Because no one's quite clear on what Hadoop will do for them. Don't get me wrong. I love Hadoop. It's a great tool. Remember, 7 components in a big data strategy. It's a great tool. It is only one part of the tool. Most people will say, hey, I got a Hadoop solution that will fix your problems. Okay, that's just a part of it. What about the analytics? What about the security? What about the data integrity? What about some sort of management system? Great. So a lot of CIOs will go in and say, hey, I got a Hadoop strategy. I know how to fix our big data problem. We're going to throw Hadoop at it. Not going to work. Enterprises will focus less on big data, and that's, I think I've mentioned this several times, on big data and stepping up their data management game. Again, I think I've mentioned this many times. I'm not going to say it again. You got to understand your data before you know what you can do with it. More automated tools are going to be increasingly critical. So this is important, right? Again, you've got this vast amount of information. You want more single tools, not multiple tools, that are able to collect this information and be able to do it. So more complex tools to help you that. It's going to happen in 2014. Actually, I've been to a few seminars that will help you, that's going to help automate some of these critical tools. And if you want to know some of those names, I'll be too happy to do it. Big data in the cloud. Somebody mentioned the cost of infrastructure. Excuse me. Somebody mentioned the cost of infrastructure up front in one of the questions I asked. That's a good question. How can you put a big data strategy in place without spending the cost of infrastructure? Believe it or not, big data to the cloud is real. What this will allow, let's not think about this like the cloud you think of Amazon, right? Where I believe this is different from an Amazon or a Google or a Microsoft Azure or anything like that, is that people will use this to experiment. Because you don't want to, again, if you remember my chart with the big rocket ship, the experimental phase, people are not going to invest hundreds and thousands or millions of dollars in an infrastructure to experiment. That's where big data to the cloud is going to be helpful to you guys, right? Hey, for a few months, I'm going to throw a bunch of data at it, right? All the tools are there. Everything's going to be there. Let me see what happens. Maybe this is going to work for me. Maybe I need it. Maybe I don't. But again, you're not going to know, again, what I said right at the beginning, you don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. How are you going to know that if you don't have the infrastructure? Big data to the cloud. Another point, social media. I promise you guys, social media is so important to the way we live today. It is amazing. You saw that one statistic about Facebook. 30 billion pieces of content shared every day. Social media is big. Twitter. What is everyone tweeting about? What's the latest fad? Believe it or not, marketing people are tracking and trending this. They're using that to promote products better, to market. If they know, actually, I'll give you a great example. Another company I worked with, a chemical company here in Pleasanton. I can't mention their name, but I can tell you this. They asked me, they said, hey, Jay, we got all this data, and why is it that this one zip code sells a lot of tissues, but this other zip code, which is adjacent to it, doesn't? It's the same demographic. I don't get it. I said, So I looked at their data. I looked at this data over here. Did you know that the average height in this zip code was 3 inches taller than the average height here? That's the piece of it. That's what I got out of it. These guys were looking at numbers and math and financial figures and all this. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Take all that away. The average height here is 3 inches taller than this one. Your product placement for this product and this product was at the same eye level. If you drop this product by 3 inches, you'll see an increase in sales. Guess what? They did, and their numbers went up. Big data. That was tracked by some of that information I got from social media, from Twitter. See what I mean by big data? It can be smart if you use it right. It can really help you. So this chemical company decided, wow, by just dropping it by 3 inches, their sales went up. And if you've gone to Safeway and Albertsons, product placement for them is everything. Everything. I can guarantee you they tactfully, accurately calculate who you are, who's coming into the store, and where to exactly put that product so that you can make sure you buy it. Oh, there's a whole system behind that. It's real. The last one, little data. I mentioned it. It's no joke. I know a lot of people haven't heard about it. Promise you, you will. You will hear about it. All right. Let's do a case study, and then I can take some questions. This is I don't know if this is irrelevant, and I've given you a few examples in my speech today. Wireless internet company. I forgot the rest of the solution. That's my fault. I'll talk about the rest of the solution. Based out of Bellevue, Washington. Very large company. Like I said, I can't give you the name, but I can tell you their logo has the pink color in it. To help customers reduce the amount of fraudulent mobile phone calls. Do you know that that still happens? That's a big deal today. Amount of fraud on cell phones. It's true. So this company called me and said, hey, Jay, we have a lot of fraud going on. Our customer satisfaction is going down. We have a lot of issues with what's going on. How can you help us reduce fraud? This is what we did. Again, the reason I can't give you the name is we're still going through the implementation phase. He's pointing 5 minutes, so I'll get through this real quick, guys. What I did was, everyone's heard of credit card fraud, right? Everyone knows how credit card fraud works. Everyone's aware of it. So if I said to you, you live in Sacramento, you make a lot of calls, Sacramento, maybe San Francisco, maybe LA, on your call list, right? So what big data allowed me to do is examine everyone's phone habits. Now, suddenly, I make a call from Sacramento to San Francisco, which is normal according to my habit profile, right? And within 5 minutes, a similar call happens out of Florida to San Francisco. Do you think credit card companies are not tracking that? They are. Well, guess what? We applied a very, very similar system to this company to reduce fraud. So now, not only is it for a customer satisfaction perspective, your phone bills are not going to go through the roof. People are actually proactively tracking who is using your cell phone. Now, in some ways, people will say, oh, that's Big Brother, and I don't want people tracking where I go and what I do. But at the same time, it's reducing fraud, which means your phone bills can come down. So it's kind of a two-way street here, right? So that's what I'm doing for them. And again, the full implementation isn't finished. We're still about 2/3 of the way through. But it's going really, really well. We've tested it on the East Coast. It's doing very well, and we're going to bring it out to the West Coast soon. I know we've got 2 more minutes. Questions? I know there's a lot of information here. Questions? Thoughts? Comments? No? Okay, final survey. Quick. And you can say no, because I will pick on you afterwards. Say no. Good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I know our time's up. I appreciate your time. Hopefully you did learn a lot. Hopefully it was very interactive. I hope you had fun. And you learned a lot. Thank you very much.